Alright, so today I'm going to be reacting to this Drake Bell hearing. It came out a couple days ago. I've been interested in the situation. If you don't know already, Drake Bell has recently been caught lacking sexual misconduct with a minor. That it might have been physical as well, but I know it's from what I know it was texting. So I've scrolled through some of the video already just to let you know, but I haven't watched the whole thing. It is a little bit vulgar, so that's a warning if you're like, you know, you don't want your mind to be violated, then maybe don't watch this because this is a it's a sad thing. It's a vulgar thing. But I figured if I'm going to sit here and watch this whole like half hour or whatever, might as well record it. So that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I've skimmed through it a little bit, so I kind of know what happens already. Not entirely, but just a little bit. But anyways, I'm gonna put it at 125 speed. So let's get into it.
Here on case number 659324, State of Ohio versus Jared Bell. Defendant is appearing by Zoom. Present in the courtroom are his attorneys, Ian Friedman and Madeline Grant. Present from the State of Ohio is Kevin Bringman. We're here for sentencing. The defendant having pled to one count of attempted endangering children, felony of the fourth degree, and one count of disseminating matter harmful to juveniles, a misdemeanor of the first degree. On behalf of the state, Mr. Bringman, you wish to address the court. Great.
Let me go ahead and get that out the way.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. The victim in this case is present today.
Mr. Bell here. Mr. Bell, can you hear the prosecutor? You asked.
Drake, can you hear the prosecutor from the podium?
Yes.
Again, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Victim,
Quick comment. I just find it very hilarious how, Drake has a very good composure here, despite the immoral behavior that he's obviously participated in. He has this kind of like snarky look on his face. It's almost like he's like, he is okay with being the villain. I went to his Instagram page and he doesn't even address the situation. So it seems like he's being pretty. I don't know what the word is. He's being pretty reserved with how he deals with this, and you can see it in the court hearing. Even here, you can just tell by looking at him. He's very, I guess, drawn back and not really feeling very vulnerable about this whole thing.
is present today via Zoom. It's my understanding that she has prepared some statements for the court. Importantly, those statements will concern the defendant's conduct, but specifically and most importantly, the harm caused and that she has suffered as a result of his actions. Your Honor, what I can tell you at this point is that the victim in this case has been severely impacted and harmed by this defendant, his actions, a man and someone that she idolized and looked up to for years. Your Honor, what we are asking, the state of Ohio is asking today, is that you listen to her, take her statements into consideration when you order your sentence. As she talks to you about
Okay, can you hurry up?
his actions and the harm caused, and impose a fair, just,
All right,
and appropriate this year.
I don't think this is relevant. That she's gonna begin to talk.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read my statement to you.
Okay.
I chose to write the statement. Sorry?
Let me interrupt for a second. I'm going to ask the show her
All
picture.
right, right off the bat, bro. Right off the bat. It seems like this female here is fake crying.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to read.
From the beginning, she has like a quaking in her voice, but you can notice her eyes aren't watering. Seems very disingenuous. Seems like an attempt of her to just basically fake cry here. And I like I said, I scrolled through this earlier, and what I have deduced is that what I think happened is that these two people got together and had some sort of falling out, and now this female is playing the victim and pretending she had no interest in him or that she was violated. Now I do obviously think that it's not good for Drake to be talking to minors, but what it seems like to me is going on here is this female has gotten with Drake, and she was interested in him, sexually attracted to him, and now she's playing the victim. It looks like, And we'll watch the video, and we're gonna see what she says here. But just off the bat, it seems like she's fake crying here. And I'm not just saying that based on this. Like I said, I've scrolled through this before already. So,
My
but that's just letting you know that's what I got from it when I scrolled through it. But that's why I want to watch the whole thing now, so I can get some more details on it.
statement to you. I chose to write the statement. Sorry?
Let me interrupt for a second. I'm going to ask
Yeah.
that you not show her picture, please. She's a minor. Oh, but, no, go ahead, ma'am.
I chose to write the statement because I want justice to be served more than anything. The only time that the defendant has appeared in court in person was on June 3rd for his arraignment, which was before the media found out about this case. He has appeared in court today over Zoom instead of appearing in person. This doesn't surprise me and shows what a coward he is.
You see, something about this is just very sus. This woman really did what she was taken advantage of, not in the sense, obviously you could argue this, the mere fact of having a sexual relationship with a minor is taking advantage, but I mean in the literal sense that she was unknowingly forced into this, not forced into this sexual relationship. And I just think it's very suspicious that she is being very offensive while at the same time being a supposed victim of someone else's, being sucked into someone else's vortex of manipulation and whatnot. So,
But I am not a coward, and that is why I'm going to.
it's very, like, constructed energy. I mean, she's written this whole speech here, very sus to me.
Reveal all of the details.
It just doesn't seem authentic to write a speech. And maybe I sound picky, but I don't know. This whole energy she's giving off. You know what I mean? I don't think a person who is genuinely in a relationship sexually with someone who didn't want to be in that relationship is going to be this offensive. I think they'll be rather hurt and maybe drawn aback. But anyways,
of the crimes that he committed against me. Aside from Cleveland, the only other time that the defendant sexually assaulted me was in October of 2017. It
Okay.
happened in Illinois in the middle of the night.
All right. So she's based on that, she said she's been sexually assaulted twice. So just to make that known.
He digitally penetrated me in the back seat of my aunt's car while she was driving him to a friend's house. The Illinois police only agreed to move forward with that case if the Ohio police did not pursue this case. I don't understand why. Regardless of their reasons why, he has gotten away with sexually assaulting me in Illinois. So today, I will be discussing the details of the crimes that he has pleaded guilty to and the impact that they have had on me. But before I do that, I would like to provide you with some context on my relationship with the defendant and what led up to these crimes. This portion of my statement explains how he started grooming me when I was 12 years old. I started off as a fan of him. I was definitely one of his biggest fans. Everyone who knew me as a child knew that he was a hero to me. I would have done anything for him. When I was 11, I learned that my aunt had a mutual friend who knew the defendant. That led to my aunt taking me to meet him for the first time in 2014 when I was 12. I adored him, and he instantly made me feel that he adored me right back. From the time I was 12 to 15, my aunt took me to meet him and spend time with him many times. After I met him for the first time, he started speaking to me more frequently online. I confided in him about very personal things about myself, including my struggle with my mental health. I went to him for advice and for someone to lean on, and he gave me that. I felt protected and loved by him. When I was 13, I went to him for boy advice. He told me that I was beautiful and that boys were stupid. He then sent me a photo of myself that he had screen capped from my Instagram, telling me that I was, quote, such a cutie. I took and uploaded that photo online a year earlier when I was 12 years old. He saved that photo of me onto his phone. I didn't realize how disturbing that was until many years later.
Okay.
Another instance of
All right.
creepy.
You see that there? Now she has just described a flirtatious interaction from at least Drake's side. Notice how she left out her, or at least from so far. She might say something right next, but notice how so far she has left out her response, and that if she reciprocated that energy, which she probably did, to Drake texting her. So obviously these two people meet up. They texted each other. She allowed him to text her, and said, she's going to him for romantic advice, and he's calling her attractive, and she's going to proceed to text her after this, and for some reason it doesn't ring a bell in her head, supposedly. We're supposed to believe that she doesn't know there's anything wrong with this, and that she is not interested in this flirtatious relationship she's engaged in with him, until later. So, and what you're going to see in this video is it will be the age argument, where, even though she is a human being, she does have a brain and she does understand reality. It will be it's basically what the notion is going to be from her, and from, if you look at the comments, what a lot of people are going to say in the comments, the notion is going to be that since she is a child or a teenager, basically it's impossible for her to be at any fault for this situation, and it's impossible to deduce that she was interested and engaging in this, and it was her fault she was in this situation with him, too, in the sense that she continued it. So that's what you're going to see, and that's probably what you're going to see from her. So, the age thing will be used. And, the reason I think this is interesting is because obviously one could say, well, she's a child. Why, don't you think it's rough to, or, horrible to say, this is her fault? I read the comments. A lot of people are saying victim blaming. And, what I think about with this is it's really what's happening with her and Drake. A very similar thing has already happened and could happen to anyone regardless of age. And what you're seeing here, not in the courts, because I do think this should be legal for Drake to, someone as old as him, to talk to a child like this. But what you're seeing here from the moral argument is age is being used as a cope to basically, retract any responsibility on her end for, being attracted to him and engaging in this sexual relationship. So that's what you're going to see. But this same phenomenon that's happening with her, where she is in this relationship with him, and she is changed her mind to decide, this guy, I've decided he's victimized me, which he hasn't. I've engaged in this relationship willingly, but I'm going to decide he's victimized me. And I guess she's saying she's got raped. I don't know if she used the word rape, but that's the essence of sexual assault. And earlier she has described she got sexually assaulted in the car while her aunt was driving her, apparently. So that's also, I find that very suspicious, to be sexually assaulted and your aunt is driving the car and you don't say anything. Very suspicious to me, but we will go on.
Behavior happened when I was spending time with him at the age of 14. He told me that he couldn't believe how much I'd grown since he last saw me. He said that I wasn't little anymore, and I was, quote, a woman now. When I was 15, I noticed a huge shift regarding his treatment and attitude towards me. When I was younger, he was sweet and actually wanted to talk to me about my life. But at 15, he started sending me messages about how, quote, hot I was. In the summer of 2017, I messaged him, telling him that I was going to see him in concert in the following months.
Okay, see that.
He replied by...
So what you have, you kind of have her giving off this energy of, I saw how bad these things were in hindsight. But you notice she said he started getting sexual with her at the age of 15, but even after that, he agreed to, what is it she said, to go to another one of his concerts. So he got sexually inappropriate with her. Maybe she could have started that, but whatever. He started becoming sexually inappropriate. And now she's going to engage not only in him online, and not only has she already seen him in person, but she's going to return to his concerts. And, we were supposed to take the impression that she is not interested in this person, that she does not want this sexual relationship. It's hard to deduce that from this.
telling me that he couldn't wait to see me. He also asked me, quote, how old are you now? I told him 15. He then told me to, quote, hurry up, don't smile at me. Not too long after that, his messages to me became blatantly sexual. This eventually led to many months of inappropriate messages and photos being exchanged over Instagram and Snapchat. The photos exchanged included photos of my body.
Okay.
And photos of his body and his
Okay, you see that there? Now, you notice when she's talking about these things, she's talking about them in a very angry tone, as if she believes these things were horrible. Or not necessarily, she obviously knows people have conscience, so she knows she shouldn't have been doing this. But she's saying these things as if she believes, like, these things were repulsive to her. But you notice at the time, they obviously weren't repulsive to her, because not only did she continue to engage with him, but she also sent photos to him as well. So you notice it's a very different energy. She's using hindsight as a very cope to get with this energy that this stuff was horrible, but when she was doing this, it wasn't horrible. So you see, this is the phenomenon of a woman being able to, I mean, obviously, this is illegal anyways, but this could happen with the older guy. This could happen with the 18-year-old guy and like a or this can happen with anyone above 18, two people, where they had this sexual engagement, and the woman was fine with it in the moment, but afterwards, later on, she's going to claim that it was repulsive and that it was, immoral, and she didn't want that, and that it was bad. So this is what you're saying. It's a Me Too. It's what you're seeing. It's a Me Too energy, and it is this phenomenon of being able to readjust the morality and the I guess energy of the whole thing by shifting her opinion as a female on how she feels about it. So that's what you're seeing.
In the beginning, I was excited. I thought that he really liked me, and I thought that I meant something to him. But that didn't last. Back then, the last thing I wanted was to lose him. Not only because I was completely infatuated with him, but because I became scared of him. There were times where I felt really uncomfortable talking to him in such graphic sexual ways and wanted to be left alone. But I had a very hard time telling him that because I was terrified of upsetting him, so I would make excuses. When I did, quote, upset him, he made me cry. If I didn't give him what he wanted, he was spiteful. It made me feel guilty. He made me feel disgusting and absolutely awful about myself. At that point, it was clear that he was the one who was in control. I felt trapped and stuck because I still idolized him. He had me wrapped around his finger. This caused
Okay, what is this video buffering? Uh-oh.
a tremendous amount of
Okay.
stress and shame, crimes that he committed against me in Cleveland. I want to make something very clear. The reason that these particular incidents did not result any further than oral sex was because the defendant knew that I was menstruating at the time. Had I not been menstruating then, he would have raped me. Don't look at me like that. Because he would tell me how badly he wanted to penetrate me vaginally, but used much more vulgar language.
Wait a minute.
On December 1st, 2017, my aunt took me to the Odeon Concert Club to watch him
Okay.
perform. That night,
Just want to point out right there, what she did right there was she's got this thing now where she can kind of admit that she was engaged in this relationship with him, like, willingly, but at the same time, he intimidated me and threatened me, and therefore, I was kind of being, like, forced. It's kind of like a gun to my head situation, whereas she can now take the responsibility off of herself, and now, he was being quote-unquote intimidating or whatnot, apparently, which I don't buy. I mean, I definitely do believe he was being sexual and sexually inappropriate, but maybe you could even say that itself is intimidating. But to claim he's being threatening, she hasn't actually detailed any suspicious threat, I don't think so. But we'll continue on.
the defendant took me backstage to be alone with him. He started kissing me, and the night ended in him having me perform oral sex on him twice.
Wait a minute.
The next incident happened on December 2nd, 2017.
Wait, hold on.
While I was alone with him in his hotel room. He had talked to me about seeing me one last time before we all left Cleveland and went home.
You see, this
So
is
we went-
this is the point where it's like, I can understand people are very feminist minded and whatnot, and especially women. Women do have a tendency to be defensive of women, and especially you see this Me Too stuff. But it's like, okay, she supposedly in one night she had sex with him 2 times. She didn't say it was rape, but that's what she's implying, it seems to me. And then after that, she goes to meet him again. This is what, the 5th time she's continued to engage with him. And I'm supposed to believe that this is like him being rapey, and this is him like taking advantage of her. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up, and I don't like that. This is, it is wrong, and it is like shunned upon to see all this and to think that this woman wanted this relationship, and that and I'm just supposed to, buy the idea that this is something that she was forced upon her, and it's not adding up at all. And yeah, you can see, like, well, how many times has she continued to be pursue after him, go to his concerts and whatnot. So she's apparently okay. So she apparently got sexually assaulted in the car with her aunt driving the car, and she didn't say anything to her aunt. She didn't tell anyone about that sexual assault or rape, whatever you want to call it. So then after he sexually assaults her supposedly in the car, and she said he would have sexually assaulted her again if it wasn't for her menstruation. She then goes to one of his concerts and she has sex with him twice, and then afterwards she's going to see him again. Very, very you know, what is this looking like? This is looking like she was interested in him. She willingly had sex with him, and now that it's come out, obviously people are already going to be already against him because of the age gap, and now people already being against him. She can easily say, well, oh, also it was like rape too. So now, and it's going to be a normal woman could do this above the age of 18, but it's especially easier for her because, you know, she's already with people being feminist minded and whatnot, and afraid to be honest about how women can act manipulatively and lie to get men in prison and whatnot for get money. It's already kind of easy to kind of play this trap on men, but now you're seeing this now with obviously people are looking at this. Normal people, Zoomers are looking at this. Millennials are looking at this, and they're already kind of against Drake, rightfully so, for being with the minor. But now, already with that, she's going to add this rape thing on. So it's going to be easy, very easy for people to see this and latch on to, oh, he did probably rape her. So
To his
yeah.
hotel to say goodbye. In his hotel room, he started kissing me and had me perform oral sex on him again. My aunt was right outside the room waiting in the hallway while this was happening. She trusted him and never thought that he would ever do anything to hurt me. Now, I would like to bring up an individual who has known about these crimes for years. This person is the defendant's partner, Janet Vaughn. In January of 2018, I was engaging in an inappropriate conversation with who I thought was the defendant until I received a message
Okay,
back
bro,
from the
this is like,
defendant's
what is
account.
this? She didn't say rape, so maybe I'm doing her wrong. But I'm pretty sure this is what she's trying to give off. So this is like she's been like sexually assaulted, so quote unquote, for like 3 times already. And she's had like what 3 or 4 opportunities to tell her aunt about this. She hasn't told her aunt. Obviously, her aunt knows she's with him. She probably knows they're having sex, to be honest. And now she's engaging in another inappropriate conversation with him, and so apparently some beans are about to get spilt on how, you know, Drake's partner was involved in all this, which I haven't heard this so far. I haven't heard anything about this partner thing, so let's see where this goes.
Claiming to be Janet. That was the first interaction I ever had with her. This confused and devastated me. And I begged the defendant for an explanation about that exchange with her. He brushed it off by repeatedly claiming that everything was fine. After these crimes happened, I tried to shake off all of the gross feelings that I had. Ignoring those feelings only made them worse. I felt so miserable, broken, and humiliated. I was struggling to sleep every night. The sexual messages continued for a while after that, until I eventually put a stop to them. I did that by confronting him about what he had done to me. I confronted
Okay.
him in September of
Notice she only confronts him, and she only feels broken. She did say she felt, I think, a little bit uncomfortable earlier, but now she's like saying she felt broken and destroyed. Notice how this is only after she finds out about this other woman. So what it looks like you have here is she's got this other woman introduced in the scene now, and now she's on top of this infatuation she has with him and them having sex. Now it's this aspect of, oh my goodness, you're with another woman, that's like breaking my heart. So now she's going to confront him about their whole relationship, only after she finds out about this other woman.
2018, just weeks before I had reported the Illinois and Ohio crimes to my local police. I chose to confront him about what he had done to me because I wanted to gain my power back. I had to suck up all of the fear that I felt in order to confront him. He ignored me for many days at first. Eventually, he tried apologizing to me for, quote, breaking my heart, but deleted those messages quickly afterward. His crimes are not heartbreaking, or whatever other loose term he uses. They are disgusting. He didn't care then, and he doesn't care now.
Okay.
That makes me
Okay.
feel worthless.
You know, you see how this doesn't add up. She's saying this was disgusting, but she did this voluntarily with him. How many times? And also, you know what also doesn't add up? Let's say let's say I'm wrong and I'm just some evil guy, and she's telling the truth, all right, about this, you know, her being sexually assaulted. How is it that she was sexually assaulted, but at the same time she is going to confront him about a relationship he's having with someone else? Meaning, the only reasonable motivation you would have to confront someone about a relationship they have with someone else is if you were interested in them romantically and you were jealous of that relationship. So there would be no other reason to confront a person like that. So, you know, this is obviously, we inherently have two contradictory things where we have her giving off this energy of, you know, he raped me or sexually assaulted me, but also like you have a different girlfriend, I'm jealous, or you have a different woman that you're, you know, interested in, I'm jealous, I'm going to confront you now. So yeah.
I confronted Janet as well. When I confronted her, she claimed that she didn't know anything about these crimes. She denied speaking with me in January of 2018 and claimed that wasn't her. She told me that none of this was my fault and apologized to me. She also told me that she wanted to, quote, jump in front of a car. However, at one point, she asked me to let her know when I was going to the police with this case for her own benefit. Of course, I did not do that. She knows what happened and she doesn't care. Janet is just one of the few people who have tried to protect him, and the others will now know exactly who they
All
are.
right, so very very interesting. All right, obviously she's jealous of Janet because Janet is sharing Drake's attention. So Janet now has become an accomplice in her eyes. Now, not only is Drake is wrong because you're with Janet, so I'm mad at you for that. So I'm going to tell the police now to punish Drake, and now I'm also going to punish Janet by describing her as an accomplice for stealing the attention of Drake.
The pain that the defendant has caused me is indescribable, and it worsens every day. Being used by somebody who meant the world to me has left me feeling more hurt than I've ever been before. I am now 19 and my life hasn't been the same since I was 15. I think about these crimes every single day. I feel like I'm in a constant dark place. Sometimes I wish I could disappear so I can forget about what happened. Right after I reported him, my parents sent me to a therapist. So far, they have spent $7,620 in hopes that she can help me move forward from this.
Okay.
These crimes
Also,
have especially impacted my
I said this
relationship with my
earlier,
aunt.
but this is like still going on. It's been 13 minutes. There's something very disingenuous about his speech, not inherently, but usually. What is writing a speech shows? Writing a speech shows that you are so concerned with how you're so concerned with putting out information in a certain way that you kind of have to preset something in order as to not really show your true self. Meaning, if I just like right now, I'm sitting in front of a camera, if I scripted out what I was going to say as I react to this video, what would that show? That shows I'm afraid to really just react to it genuinely and genuinely talk about how I feel about it and what's going on. And this is a similar energy I'm sensing from her. She's written this whole speech and she's obviously got these unnecessary emotional details, like about how hurt she felt in her mental health, and like how she's thought about it every day, which is unnecessary and it's emotional. So that's also very sus that she's written out this whole speech as opposed to just talking authentically.
For a while, I could not fathom how my aunt had no idea what was going on.
She's apparently been sexually assaulted like three or four times, and she was afraid to tell anyone about it. But now she's very boldly written out this whole speech that she's going to tell thousands of people about, as opposed to just kind of talking. I guess that maybe that kind of makes sense because maybe if you write a speech, you could be more composed. But all this, she's being very open about this, whereas she apparently got sexually assaulted, and she was very afraid to give out that information until conveniently after she found out Drake was with another woman.
And that made me doubt the trust that I had in her. To this day, there is still tension and awkwardness between her and myself.
Wait a minute.
Every time I speak to her and look at her, I think about the
Oh,
tension
I
and
missed something.
And that made me doubt. For a while, I could not fathom how my aunt had no idea what was going on, and that made me doubt the trust that I had in her. To this day, there is still tension and awkwardness between her and myself. Every time I speak to her and look at her, I think about the defendant and what he did to me. My relationship with my aunt will never be the same, and that breaks my heart.
Okay.
My whole family is hurting.
Now here's what I think about this aunt thing. She said she basically just said I'm kind of resentful of my aunt because she didn't know what was going on. So I either think her aunt knew what was going on, and now for the convenience of the situation, she's trying to point the finger at her aunt, even though she already knew, or B, her aunt is just super oblivious parent, and she literally didn't think they were having sex, which I think doesn't make sense, but that does happen. I don't know how much that happens, but obviously we live in a degenerate society. People are sleeping around, and I guess some parents are guardians are naive enough to think that when their children are getting with people of the opposite gender and hanging out with them and stuff and being alone in rooms with them, they're not having sex. So maybe her aunt genuinely didn't know, but I think this is a lie. Personally, I think her aunt knew they were having sex and she was fine with it. I mean, seriously, what do you're going to take your niece to, with what? You're going to have your niece with a 30-year-old man and have him in the room alone with your niece, and you don't think they're having sex? What? and she's a fan. You know, what is being a fan of someone mean if you're a woman and it's like a male? That means you're attracted to that person usually. Now, in some instances, maybe not, but that's generally what it is. Like, if a female is a fan of a guy, she's attracted to him. So you know your niece is a fan of this person, and you're going to put her alone in the room, with him. So I think the niece knew what was going on, and I think that she's kind of. I think she's maybe she's trying to cover up for her. Maybe she's trying to be against her. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. But I don't know. I just find it hard to believe she didn't know what was going on. So yeah.
Because I am hurting. Their trust in my aunt has been affected too. My aunt blames herself for leaving me alone with the defendant. My parents blame themselves for placing their trust in my aunt to protect me and keep me safe. It's awful to hear them say that. Every night, I dread going to sleep because I don't want to see him in my nightmares.
See, why is all this stuff relevant?
I've
Like,
lost
this,
many
don't you think this is weird? Why is she talking about how she feels going to sleep at night? Just talk about what happened, and just talk about the situation. Especially if she really did get sexually assaulted, that just doesn't add up. You got sexually assaulted, and you're just spilling all your feelings. Now, obviously, displaying sadness is one thing, but like talking about how you feel going to sleep at night, like that's very suspicious, and it seems rather to me that you're trying to get emotional empathy and get people to feel sorry for you, as opposed to having a genuine reaction to being supposedly sexually assaulted.
nights of sleep because of this. I've lost count over how many times I fell asleep in class when I was in high school due to so many sleepless nights. I also occasionally had to leave school early due to having panic attacks that were triggered by these incidents. During these panic attacks, I would struggle to breathe, sweat, shake, cry, and often faint. When I do sleep and do see him in my nightmares, it throws off my entire day. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, very obviously fake there. If you fall for that, man, I don't know what to tell you. That's just.
These crimes have affected my dating life.
It's very dramatic. You know those videos where they. It's like psychological analogies, or not analogies, psychological analysis, usually of criminals who are lying. You know, if she was like in a like interrogation room and you saw her like covering her face like this and you know she's got no tears and whatnot, this would be like the moment where the guy like reviewing the video would be like, hey, look at this person, they're fake reacting or whatever. This would be that moment right there.
As well. Every day I have since gone on has ended with me going home crying. Every time I feel the slightest bit vulnerable around a guy, all I can think of and see is the defendant. I have serious trust issues because of him. Dating your teenagers should be a fun experience and should not be something that brings up trauma caused by a grown man. The defendant's crimes against me are the worst things that he could have ever done to me. He was such a huge part of my childhood, and in return, he ruined my life.
She's using the age thing. She's saying a grown man as if she was so disgusted by that. When obviously she said, not only did she send nudes to this guy, but she had sex with him multiple times. Like I said before, very contradictory energies concerning how she feels about this guy. On one hand, he's a grown man and he was disgusting for taking advantage of her, but like on the other hand, they had sex multiple times and she didn't tell anyone, and she sent nudes to him.
Life. Back when I confronted him, he told me that he didn't want me to hate him.
You know, and I'm perfect. Oh,
I don't hate
sorry.
him.
And I'm not defending Drake here. I'm perfectly fine with him being persecuted for, you know, talking with this minor. But my problem is she's doing this thing where she's being a victim. You know, I would rather, you know, if you're going to be a teenager and you're going to have a sexual relationship with this guy, you know, I would just be honest about it and be like, hey, I had this relationship with him. Because you're not going to get in trouble. I don't think, maybe with her parents, but maybe that's another motivation for her to, like, do this so she doesn't, like, have everyone know that she, like, was attracted to this grown man. Because that is an embarrassing thing for young people. We do have this misconception that young women aren't attracted to older men, and it's just simply not true. Now you can say that's mean to acknowledge, or that's like inappropriate to acknowledge, but that's just reality. So, you know, like I said, I'm perfectly fine with Drake being persecuted. I just don't like that she's on top of this, she's adding a rape thing when it very clearly wasn't rape. It was very clearly something she wanted and was interested in, and we're just supposed to say, oh well, it is rape because she's a child, you know. I think it's a flimsy concept, but at the same time, that's why you shouldn't be messing with these children. But you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'll have to think about that some more. But
I loathe him. Now I would like to ask you something important. Whether a person has a lot of influence, some or none at all, these are crimes that are unforgivable and inexcusable. They can never be taken back. He was calculating, he preyed on me, and sexually abused me. He is a monster and a danger to children. I am kindly asking you to send a powerful message that these crimes are never okay, no matter who a person is.
okay, see how she's oh there's a small cockroach on my table. You can't see it. Whatever. But anyways, she's telling people, she's like going off on a speech about how you have to be proactive against like predators. When she did the opposite. What did she do? She was very proactive in like being for the predator and being sexually involved with the predator. So very, another contradiction. Just contradiction on top of contradiction.
I also want to bring up the letter that I wrote to you. In my letter, I explain why the defendant is not remorseful for his crimes. I described how he has publicly found humor in them and how he has used tactics to gain sympathy from the public. He could have easily ignored the people online who were mocking this case. Instead, he went out of his way to let them know that he thinks it's funny, and he can give me that look all he wants. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
See, we have this new term for white women that are angry called Karen. She gave off a very Karen energy right there, which is, I guess it could theoretically happen to someone who got sexually assaulted, but I don't think that doesn't make sense to me. I think it'd be more vulnerable and timid as opposed to like angry and like combative against this person who supposedly sexually took advantage of you multiple times. Very resentful energy. It's the same exact energy that a woman gives off when her boyfriend has broken up with her and she hates him for that. She resents him for that. It's the same energy. It's just very snappy. I'm mad at you. I hate you now. It's the same energy she's giving off, and the same thing she gave off earlier when she very briefly said, what did she say? She said, "Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that." So she was in the middle of this speech about how she's like traumatized and like I can't sleep at night. And Drake was probably just standing there like this. He's probably just sitting there like this. And then randomly she's like, "Don't look at me like that." Very interesting. Shades got a little bit messed up. Hold on. All right. Continue.
The crimes that he committed against me are some kind of sick joke to him. My suffering is not for him to laugh at or his leverage to brag about becoming a good man now that he is a father.
He's a father.
So today, if the defendant tries to tell you that he is remorseful, I am asking you to appreciate that actions speak louder than words. Since his arraignment and plea hearing,
brother.
his actions have been loud and clear, and they have shown that he simply does not care and does not have an ounce of remorse.
All right, so she switched from very like sorrowful to very resentful and combative. But I think it is interesting how she's kind of done this thing where she had to say like, well, look at his actions. He's laughed about this thing, so therefore he has no remorse. Seems like she's just trying to take away his potential for redemption, which would make sense if she wants to falsely punish him in the sense that the rape part is false. So I don't know. I don't know if this is true. I don't know everything about this case. I know little about this case, so I don't know what she's referring to when she's talking about him laughing. I don't know how many social medias this guy has. I went to his Instagram and he didn't seem like he's posted anything about it on there, but maybe it's like this in personal circles or something. I don't know what she's referring to about him laughing and like being joking about the situation.
I won't be surprised if he tries to manipulate everybody into believing that he's changed, but he can't fool me. If he is truly sorry for anything, he is sorry that he has finally been caught. I can assure you of that. He committed these crimes against me with pride. A defendant who clearly feels no remorse for his crimes deserves to be given the maximum sentence possible.
Oh, bro.
I will never forget what he did to me.
Okay, so she switched up. She went from, being very sad, describing how her pain is, then just out of nowhere, she's already decided, all right, if he's remorseful, he's lying. He doesn't feel he's only sorry he got caught. That's a guaranteed. All right, there's no redemption for him. And he did this. He was very vindictive. He did this thing to me, vindictively and immorally. And what did she just say now? I gotta replay that.
These crimes against me with pride.
Now, he did it with pride.
A defendant who clearly feels no remorse for his crimes deserves to be given the maximum sentence.
All right, so she's added, like, not only has she declared that this guy cannot have any remorse, and that's on the basis of some social media, like him laughing on social media. I don't know what she's referring to there. Could be true, could be not true. So she's declared this guy has like no, he has no chance of remorse, and it's guaranteed that he is actually just sorry that he got caught. But now, like, he needs the maximum penance. He needs to be in prison for the maximum amount of time as possible. And also, don't forget, she did the same thing to this other girl, where in the sense that she's trying to punish her with her words, describing this girl as an accomplice to his crimes.
Possible. I will never forget.
Never mind.
What he did to
Continue.
me. I idolized and looked up to him, and he took that and broke it in the most sickening way possible. He is the epitome of evil.
No, bro.
I deserved better than to be used for his sick desires and for my suffering to be used for his amusement. Jared Drake Bell is a pedophile, and that is his legacy. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so I don't disagree with the pedophile part, but it seems like, you know, she's not only is he a pedophile, but you're attracted to grown men. Not you were attracted to grown men then. You're obviously attracted to grown men now. It's not going to change as you get older. So yeah, I mean, he's a pedophile definitely, but you're a you're like, you like pedophiles, and you had sex with one willingly multiple times. I just think it's, you know, I think it's very interesting because I think about humans in a very, not in like, obviously humans are different, men and women are different, they have genders, but I think it's very interesting just like how, you know, what I'm saying right now, people, even though maybe if you're watching this, you may understand it, like, yeah, obviously a lot of people, especially women, would be very mad at what I'm saying, and it's just very weird how our whole, like, mindset has been twisted to, like, if a woman lies or whatever, it doesn't matter if she's lying, she's a woman, you have to feel sorry for her and just, like, believe what she says. And it is a manipulation. It is part of the feminism movement, and it's not good. But, you know, I just think it's kind of like lame how everyone's like falling for that. It is what it is, but, you know, you're not gonna catch me giving off that kind of energy, you know. And not that this wouldn't happen the opposite way, but I do the same thing with a man. You know, if a man had engaged with the older woman, and he's trying to, like, it's very easy to tell that he wanted that, and now he's trying to play like victim. I'd do the same thing. I call him out. So it's got nothing to do with some hatred for women or whatever, which some people might say, but this is just the reality, right? I mean, you look at this clearly, and it's very, like, very highly leaning towards the fact that she engaged with him, had sex with him willingly, and now she's the victim. And there is this notion that, you know, if you're below the age of 18, it's automatically rape if you have sex with someone, which is not true. Because what is rape? Rape means you had sex with someone, and you contested that. Where was her contesting? Where did she contest having sex with him? She never speaks of any such thing. Maybe by law. I'm not talking about legality. I'm just talking about objectively, like. Sure, you could say it's rape in the sense, like, by law, if you have sex with a minor, that this doesn't count as consent or whatever, but it's pretty clear that she wanted this relationship, she wanted these sexual acts to happen, and she came back multiple times for more. So you have a human being who has willfully engaged in sex with another human being, and after the fact, she has decided, you know what, it was rape, and this guy, he's not redeemable, he has no remorse, he can't have remorse, and he needs the maximum sentence, and he's a pedophile. So.
Thank you. Anything further on behalf of the state? On behalf of the defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, first, before I really get into the sentencing, I would like to recognize and acknowledge the professionalism that was shown by my colleague Kevin Bringman and his supervisor Jennifer Driscoll in allowing us to really process this case over a long period of time. While the case seems that it went so quickly from arraignment to plea to sentencing, it's because the work was done on the front, and I do appreciate their working with us to effectuate that. You know, there's no question that Drake has accepted his responsibility in this case by the way of his plea. He has pled to the felony of the 4th degree, attempted child endangerment, and a misdemeanor disseminating, neither of which require any sexual registration. The chat that was referred to by Prosecutor Bringman was the dissemination, and that did create a risk of harm to then minor, now adult. I think we're just going by initials, SG, in this case. If not, it doesn't matter. Names.
Also, I don't know what's going on here, because if you notice earlier, I don't know what I guess the judge, he said like, don't show this girl, this person is a minor. I guess the person who had control of that is just like, nah, I don't care. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's just a human being to me. I don't really care if they show her or not, but I just think it's interesting how like he was like, no, don't show this person, they're a minor, and the person was like, nah, I'm gonna show them anyways.
Victim. All right. For prosecutors asked that I just refer to this person as victim, so I will do that for purposes of this hearing. You know, there have been a lot of claims that were made by the victim here, and it's not often, or can I even recall an instance where defense counsel at sentencing had to address the credibility of the victim's allegations at sentencing. But this appears to be
Okay,
that
you see
time.
this facial expression? I didn't process exactly what she said, but he's kind of like, basically what the energy this guy's giving off. This is not necessarily what he's saying, but the energy this judge is giving off is like, it's what you did was very rare and it was kind of sus. And she's trying to combat that non-verbally by making this facial expression to show that like, hey, wait a minute, you cannot. I'm going to contest this idea that what I'm doing was sus. I don't remember exactly what the judge just said, but he's basically saying like something about this was not right, I think.
I will simply say that some of these claims that were made about sending photos of genitals, we went through these claims with the prosecutor's
Okay,
office
see
for a long time.
see how she shakes her head to obviously this genital thing is bad. It's bad in both halves, but to the public eye, it's not going to be bad because she's just a minor. She got groomed. But for him, it's going to be bad. She's like, oh yeah, he sent inappropriate photos. Yeah. Whereas a second ago, she was like, she had for like raised brows, contesting him.
Time.
So she's trying to like non-verbally like validate or contest what this judge is saying here.
Approximately 18 months. No such image was presented, either to the state or to the defense.
All right,
The
see.
claim that he is a pedophile lacks any sort of factual support from the case, and it also lacks any sort of mental health claim. It's an easy tag to give someone, but doesn't fit in this case. Clearly,
Okay, so I don't know exactly why the judge is saying that. The fact that this judge is saying that makes me wonder: did they even have sex? I think they did, but I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I can't know for sure. But why would this guy say he's not a pedophile if they had sex? Maybe this guy doesn't believe they had sex. I don't know.
the victim in this case, and again, it's difficult because it's hard for me to walk the very fine line in this case between what he did and what he's being accused of doing, that which he accepted responsibility for and that which he would never accept responsibility for.
I'm going to ask you, what is he accepting responsibility for?
So the acceptance of the responsibility, Your Honor, is for chats that occurred between he and the victim.
What was the subject matter of those chats?
The subject matter of those chats were there was a lot to it. So there was discussion because they had known each other for years, and there were claims that became sexual in nature. When asked, however, at what point, or at your age, excuse me, at that point he said, "Can you hurry up?" which shows a complete intent not to engage with a minor. So, however, those chats, harmful as they were, clearly harmed this person at that time.
They were sexual in nature.
Those were, yes. Thank you. They certainly, however, Your Honor, did not mimic any of the factual scenarios that the victim has brought up here today. And again, I have to emphasize the fact that once the age was known, that terminated at that point, saying hurry up with the age. But I will say this.
Let me ask you this.
Yes,
You're
please.
saying you didn't know how old she was when you first started engaging in conversations with her, either at a concert or by telephone. You didn't know that her age.
At the start, he may not have known. He did learn of the age at a later time, Your Honor, and that is why he's accepting the plea. That's it? Yeah, during the chats, Your Honor.
Okay. So what I'm picking up here is that basically this judge is saying, he's not so pedophile-ish because, or maybe he's not even a pedophile because he said, hurry up, as in like hurry up and become 18 so I can have a like legally have a sexual like interaction with you. So I could be wrong on this, but the way the judge is talking, it seems like he thinks that like they had no sex at all. So that kind of changes the thing. I didn't even consider that. I definitely do see that this woman is lying about being raped, but now I'm questioning did they even have sex at all? And I don't think they've mentioned anything about doing like a DNA test to figure that out. And I guess that's, but it's a sentencing, so maybe that should have already happened. I don't know how I don't know how the judicial system works, but they've got me questioning do they even have sex at all now?
Dates on the transcript. The transcript. You agree? Yeah. So the state and defense would agree the age was mentioned during those chats, Your Honor. So, Your Honor, other than this offense for which he's pled guilty, this court is aware that there were two OVIs, but nothing ever similar to anything like this. We would ask for basic community-controlled sanction, which would then be transferred to California. That certainly would be sufficient pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 292911.
All right. I just want to point this out. Notice how, like, if you look at her now and look at her demeanor, it's impossible to tell that she was like almost having like a panic attack a couple minutes ago. Remember earlier she was like talking about how she couldn't sleep at night, and she was like, impossible to tell that was her like what 5 minutes ago. So you notice this is what you notice if you watch criminal psychology videos. You notice like if you skip at different parts of the criminal, oftentimes they'll have like very different expressions. Like you'll maybe see them 1 minute and they're very like defensive, and maybe they're like very, and maybe the next minute they'll be like very, just their expressions change very rapidly. So that's what you notice here. Now it's like if you look at her, she looks fine. She looks like she's like, I don't know. She looks casual. She looks like she's like nothing is going on here. Whereas earlier she was like she was on the verge of crying.
14, because in this case recidivism does not appear likely, and nor does the severity.
I mean, contrast her like almost crying with like her like remember how she was like pressing her eyes, squinting her eyes like earlier, in like combativeness. So you've got calmness, you've got combativeness, you've got verbal aggression. Don't look at me. And later you're going to see her like getting tissues and fake crying later, which I saw earlier when I scrolled through this video, I think. So very different energies, very different facial expressions.
Of it outweigh any similar offenses by similar.
Maybe not expressions, but more specifically, very different emotions that she's giving off.
Offenders, when we're looking at what was actually pled to in this case, the claim that seeing the therapist resulted from this. And again, this is where I'm just going to take this responsibility for making the record straight. I'm sure it's not going to be, the victim in this case is not going to like what I have to say, but we are aware that the therapy did not begin with Drake. This began before. Throughout this case, and this is why I think that the plea is very accurate and very fitting, and all parties agreed to this, including the victim in this case, was aware of this before this day and approved of this plea. Clearly, she, according to a lot of the statements that were provided in this case, worshipped and kind of held herself out as a super fan of Mr. Bell. There were no claims at all of any sort of inappropriate conduct until the victim in this case learned of Mr. Bell's fiance, now wife. And at that point, that's when everything kind of,
okay. That's what I said earlier. That's what he just said is true. It's not like that's not conflated. It's just true. And look at her facial expression. She's like, hold on, wait a minute. She's like, she's trying to defend herself here. She's been caught lacking, and now this judge has pointed that out. And she's trying to use these facial expressions to kind of, and especially, she says this is going to invoke some of the women watching in the audience, some beta males too, to like kind of sympathize with her and like be like, what the heck, man? Are you trying to say like she's sus? Yeah, she's sus. So that's what you're seeing there. Continue.
Turn the world upside down. In going through all of these statements and all the witnesses in this case, I will just simply, I'm trying to do this in as gentle a manner as possible, but there was certainly concern for the victim's reality in her case and in her claims thereafter. The claims as to Janet Bell and the exchange online that was happening, we had provided a video to the prosecutor's office from Ms. Bell. She explained why she spoke to the victim the way that she did.
This man Drake's his composure here is cracking me up here. He's very, I'm not a pedophile defender. I'm not on the side at all. It may seem like that because I spend most of the video talking about her, and the only reason I've done that is basically because this guy, he's not even, Drake's not really even talking at all. All Drake has done is like nod to a few statements. He hasn't even talked. But Drake, despite being, talking to this teenager, he has like he could be on the defensive. Like, all right, if you guys saw what happened to EDP, if you don't know who EDP is, he's a YouTuber. He got caught like trying to meet with a little girl. EDP snitched on himself completely. Now, these are two different situations. One's a court hearing, and one's like a civilian encounter. But these are two completely different energies. You know what I mean? Like EDP, when he got caught, he's like, I was gonna get a cupcake, and like, oh, please don't tell him me. Where Drake is like, he's very reserved, and he's doing a good job of keeping this composure that's going to protect him. Not literally, not necessarily, but like, or definitively, but in the sense that he looks like he's not really revealing anything. So, I'm not on his side or anything because I'm against pedophilia, but he's doing the smart thing to defend himself here, especially not talking about it on social media because he's really only plead to, I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the plea they're talking about is just the messages. So if they did have sex, he is covering himself up in a way, at least so far, in that he's not talking about it. He's not talking about the situation on social media. So I think he's trying to kind of cover himself by being very reserved and just kind of being quiet about the whole thing.
Explained that she was just trying to appease her and trying to let her believe that she was just being heard because she had difficulty even talking to her about it. So this was not anything that, as the victim somehow believes now, was genuine by Ms. Bell. This was an attempt just simply to diffuse a situation, which, in hindsight, they clearly judged correctly as a dangerous situation. I'm not sitting here today, Judge, to minimize the conduct of what Drake did. But what was accused here today, what was brought out here today, was a far other world from what we, the state and the defense, had contemplated prior to. Since the time of her allegation, when she claims that this happened, she went to 9 additional concerts that he was at. She would message him saying, "I miss you." When we talk about the kind of different reality, I think one of the points that stood out most to me.
She's all right. So this man has snitched on her or something. I don't even know. She went to 9 concerts, bro. 9, bro. 9. All right. How much does a concert cost? I don't know. I've never been to a concert before. You can I don't know. Whatever. It takes effort to go to a concert. So it's not only like she's texted him like for hours probably, and she's been a fan of him for all these years, but she went to his 9 of his concerts after he's been sexually inappropriate with her, bro. Like if you believe this woman is a victim, then you're either just naive or just feminist minded and deluded. So I don't know. 9. I mean, that's 9. That's 9 concerts right there. That's a lot of concerts.
The victim's video.
Okay, she's smirking. Doesn't make sense for someone who's been supposedly raped to be smirking in this situation.
I think one of the points that stood out most to me was in the victim's videoed statement to the detective in this case from the Cleveland Police Department, Antanasio, when he asked her, "Has anyone come to speak to you on behalf of the defense?"
Man, that sounds like extreme to me just to point that out, but I don't know. It's like, that's like the fourth one, the fourth emotion she's had, sadness, or maybe the third. She's had sadness, she's had combativeness / anger, and now like smirkingness, and that is 4, and also like not combativeness, but what is the other one? Like confusion, like the stiff eyebrows, like what that kind of expression. So she's like had 4 different very contrasting emotions so far, at least.
Defense, and she said yes, and the detective said, "Who was that?" Well, there.
All right, so that's basically what you're seeing. I've kind of pointed this out. Maybe I'm saying this too much, but basically, just notice every time she does every time she makes this expression, that's basically her saying like, "You're exposing me. You're showing something I said doesn't add up. Stop doing that." So just watch out for that.
The private investigator for Mr. Bell, and the prosecution, defense were all in the same room. We heard that, and we knew perfectly well that had never happened. And then all of a sudden, she stated that, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I was wrong. I was confused. It didn't happen. It seemed really realistic to me," and that showed great concern for credibility and recollection. She talks about the hotel room at the Aloft, and I understand that she has problems with her aunt now, but it is important to show that there was another adult who was there. All of this was shared with the state and the defense. This is why we pled the way that we did, to what was actually done, not what is actually being stated here today. And that friend was very clear, not just in a statement to the defense, but also in another recorded statement to the Cleveland Police Detective Antanasio. And that person stated that the victim had never gone into Mr. Bell's room alone, period. And that was twice stated to us and to the detective. She talks about performing oral sex here today on 2 occasions, stating that there was never that this happened in the back room at the Odeon. We also were able to identify and share witnesses who indicated they had gone back and forth down the hall into that room throughout the night. The door was open. There were people in that room at all times, and this did not happen. She did tell one of her friends, and I'll
Okay.
get to some here in a moment.
So what I'm saying, or what I said earlier about like her, this potentially, maybe potentially they didn't even have sex, it's starting to make more sense now with this judge is saying and how she has to combat it. And notice just here she's kind of done a contradiction, where she's like notice how this judge is about to say, or he just said, there is people like in that room all night, this supposed room where you guys did the oral sex in, and you were supposedly sexually assaulted. There were people there all night. She nods her head. Oh yeah, there are people there all night. Sure, yeah, there are people in that room all night. Yeah, and then when she says like, what did he say? When she says like, I guess she was never there. She's like, no, wait a minute, hold on, back up.
She did tell one of her friends, and I'll get to some here in a moment, that she did report this when she did because she did not, or she stated that Mr. Bell did not respond to her liking. So in essence, what this is was a person who, and that's okay, idolized this person. His conduct was not correct. It was not proper for what he did. And unfortunately, he did not know who he was speaking with and the damage this was going to do. But I have to be very clear because it would not be fair to sit there and just accept everything that was said. What occurred, or what the victim is claiming to have occurred here, not only am I saying that it did not happen, not only would Mr. Bell say that that did not happen, but the evidence in the state, the evidence in this case would suggest it did not happen. And again, we all know that this prosecutor's office would pursue child sex charges and go to great lengths and aggressively as they should, and we've seen it many times. If they felt that that was a provable case, I'm sure we would not be talking here today about an attempted child endangerment and a disseminating matter harmful to a minor. Now, as far as sanction, Your Honor, in asking for the basic community control sanction, I would submit that there's already a great penalty that has been paid by Mr. Bell that others would not face, merely.
Okay. All right. So supposedly she's been sexually assaulted, right? Now she's contradictingly. You could say, maybe some people could say it's not contradictory. I think if it is contradictory, to like have this very aggressive combative facial expression. But now look how she's very easily shifted from. She shifted from this to this. She's went from to this. Like she's like painting her nails or something. So she's gone from like on the verge of crying to being like very, and from yelling, "Don't look at me like that," and now to like, I'm just looking at my nails or something, as if like this whole thing is like very casual to her, as if this whole thing is like she's kind of like, whatever, let's get it over with. So I think even this right here just illustrates that to her this whole thing is it's an act for her. She's actually very calm about the situation, and she's very like she's probably surely is resentful towards Drake, but in terms of how she feels about this whole situation, it's not getting to her as much as she gives off, and she's actually kind of more nonchalant about it than she gives off. Otherwise, you would never see her like just kind of like, you know, she's sitting in her car waiting for a McDonald's order to come out.
Because of his position. As the court knows, online, if you just simply type in his name, the initial Google result will come up with 23.6 million results.
What is that? See, isn't this sus? Bro, you cannot make this up, bro. Hold on.
There's already great penalty that has been paid by Mr. Bell.
Okay, sorry, that's way too slow. I'm wasting time. 50, we'll do 50.
Others would not face merely because of his position. As the court knows, on.
Okay, whatever. My bad. That was my bad. Taking way too long. But you saw that. She smirked like twice, very briefly, but you saw it. She's
If you just simply type in his name, the initial Google result will come up with 23.6 million results.
see
that
what
de-
is that someone is that the facial expression of someone who's been raped? A quick smirk and then she brushes it away. She caught herself smirking. She had to, because she has malicious intent. She's smiling about something joyfully. What aspect of that? Maybe it's she's just smiling about the fact that she's like falsely accusing this guy of raping her, whatever. She's smiling about something maliciously, smirking. And this is someone who's supposedly been sexually assaulted.
deal with Drake Bell and this very process for which we're standing here today. So this is something that's going to tag him and follow him around. He's already seen a loss of employment because of this, because people have wondered, what is this all about? My hope is that that will start up for him again when now they know what the reality of this actually is. Again, to go back to the just flippant claim that he's a pedophile, as the court is aware, we did engage professionals in this, and there is no such finding, as was suggested here today. So, Your Honor, I would submit that the basic communicable sanction with the Interstate Compact
Oh, my
in
bad.
California
Hey, get that
is
out of the way.
adequate. Lack of history justifies what we are requesting. The nature of the plea, the level of the offenses certainly supports that request as well. And if it would please the court, I would ask that Mr. Bell make a brief statement on his own behalf. And I would also let the court know that I've asked Mr. Bell to keep it brief because in my professional judgment, I cannot state that civil litigation will not follow this. And I feel that I would not be doing a service to my client if I didn't suggest that. Now, yes, of course, there was a plea that can be used, but we're still talking about two very different things here today. So I thank the court for consideration.
Is she on her phone? Bro, she's scrolling on her phone, bro. Looking at Instagram, looking
Thank
at
you,
her speech.
counsel. With respect to the potential civil litigation, he has pled to certain offenses which could expose him to civil liability. So in that regard, I would like to hear from the defendant as to what his position on this is and why this occurred. Mr.
Okay,
Bell,
bro.
go ahead.
You can't make this up. Okay, the screen's switching. But you saw her, bro. She's pulling out the tissues. She went from like kind of calm at the beginning to crying and talking about how she can't sleep at night. And she's going from, oh, don't look at me like that, to, oh, I'm crying again and I'm kind of angry at my aunt, and like this facial expression to now, oh, I'm looking at my phone. And to now she's got the tissue box out. She's crying, no tears as well. Come on, you can't make this up. How can anyone buy this?
In that regard, I would like to hear from the defendant as to what his position on this is and why this occurred. Mr. Bell, go ahead.
Oh shoot. Oh no, stop it. My bad.
Concert club to watch him.
Oh boy, what timestamp was that? I clicked the button on my mouse by accident.
Now, yes, of course, there was a plea that can be used, but
Okay.
Thank you, counsel. With respect to the civil liability, so in that regard, I would like to hear from the defendant as to what his position on this is and why this occurred. Mr. Bell, go ahead.
Your Honor, I just want to say today that I accept this plea because my conduct was wrong. I'm sorry that the victim was harmed in any way, but that was obviously not my intention. I have taken this matter very, very seriously. And again, I just want to apologize to her and anyone else who may have been affected by my actions.
Anything further?
No,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
she's going extra here with the tissue to kind of nullify his apology. Do I think his apology is genuine? No. Do I think he should be apologizing? I mean, maybe. I think it'd be, but at the same time, it's kind of. Maybe if he was I think it'd be fine to want him to apologize for like, okay, I'm sorry, I did this because like I'm an adult and I shouldn't be like getting sex with you. You're a child, but like apologizing to someone who like wanted to have sex with you, or not even wanted to have sex with you, but from what it seems now is that you know, you exchange the sexual photos, and like now they're claiming rape on you, and now you're apologizing to them. I think that's maybe a little bit disingenuous, but whatever.
Very good. Well, the court heard a lot of serious and disturbing allegations here today, but I can't lose.
She's very
Focus
wide-eyed
on the
for
fact
cries.
as to-
Usually, when you're crying, you're a little bit like you're a little bit squinty. You're not usually crying like with eyes like this. That's not usually how. I'm saying usually. I'm sugarcoating. That's not how a person cries. You don't cry with your eyes that wide open.
To what he pled to. He did not plead to sexual misconduct or engaging in sexual relations. He pled to attempted endangering children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. These are serious allegations, but they do not involve sexual relations. However, a grown man does not engage in inappropriate text messages to a teenager. There's a reason why a 14 or 15-year-old does not have the right to drive, does not have the right to vote, does not have the right to serve in the armed forces. They don't have the emotional or mental maturity to properly gauge their conduct. So you did take advantage in that regard to somebody who could not appreciate the consequences of the relationship or lack of relationship or inappropriate relationship. Now, I respect your attorney, and he talks about that your position has exacerbated the harm that befallen you because of all this publicity. But the fact of the matter is, your position and celebrity status enabled you to nurture this relationship. You were able to gain access to this child, and you were able to gain the trust of this child. So it's a two-edged sword, your position. I hope you truly are remorseful. I don't know. You are going to get 1 year on the felony 4, 6 months on the misdemeanor. They'll run concurrent by operation of law. I will suspend the imposition of the sentence. You will be subject to 2 years community control sanctions. You'll have to register with Cuyahoga County. They will facilitate the transfer of probation to California.
She's simulating relief here. She's not actually like she's relieved in a sense, but she's not actually like that. Like she's not actually relieved enough to actually like make that facial expression genuinely. See how she was crying, and then like you said, like you will blah 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 for a year, and she's like like something out of a kid show, like very dramatic acting, and then like back, but then I forgot, I got to be like a victim again. So like from like relief, and back to crying. So
They will evaluate your sexual offender report that was submitted under seal. They will determine whether you have to undergo additional counseling. You will also perform 200 hours of community work service, and you're to have no contact with the victim. Court costs imposed. Anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you.
okay, it's over. One last comment. All right, notice how she's covering her nose with the tissue, like holding it down. She's doing that because she knows the video is ending. And the main expression and the final expression she wants people watching this video to get is like her sadness. Okay, so you had many different emotions she displayed, but the main one she wants you to remember is sadness. That's why she holds it for a solid. How long is it? It doesn't matter. She holds it for like a solid 10 seconds because she wants everyone to know. Okay, oh shoot, the video's ending. Let me get my last moment of sadness for all the viewers. Then the video ends. So very interesting thing. She's definitely lying. This is definitely a situation of she gets with him, and you know she's been she resented him for some reason. Maybe it was specifically for the other girl, or maybe it was something else. But regardless, she's tried to falsely accuse this man of rape. It's pretty obvious, and you could call me arrogant for saying that so assertively, but everyone's so assertively saying it's the opposite. So I'm fine with asserting. Like, I just think it makes sense to see something for what it is. So you know, obviously I'm not the judge. It's not going to be up to me, but I think it's pretty easy to see that she's lying on him. I don't feel bad for Drake at the same time because he's he's a grown man. For him to begin with in this relationship with this child is wrong. Um, some people might have different emotional feelings about that. Some people may care less about the age difference. Some people may be like really up in arms about it. But it is what it is, and you know, that's his fault. So he took this L here. You know, you shouldn't get the children. And this isn't a Me Too moment. This is a certified Me Too moment. My boy's been Me Too'd, but looks like she didn't get away with it. So, like I said, I don't know how the judicial system works. I'm not sure if they're gonna have any more hearings after this, but it seems like he's things have been done properly in the sense that, you know, he had this inappropriate relationship with this teenager. He pleaded guilty to these messages, but then this girl tried to add in at the last minute, tried to add in all this stuff about being raped or whatever. She didn't use the word rape, but that's what she meant, because obviously sexual assault that's rape. So she tries to throw in sexual assault, but this judge is like, no, we're not buying that. And she combated that. She made these facial expressions to show she's in disagreement with that, but then she has to resort back to her final emotion she wants to impact the viewers with, to sympathize with her, which is sadness. So she did definitely lie, but you know, Drake he did do wrong. So you know, big L for him. But you know, besides him being a pedophile or not, it just does go to show you that you can take an L with these women, and these women will meet to you. This goes for anybody, and you know, some people might hear that and think that's like, you know, it's maybe egotistical or like weird to be interested in that idea, but this is a real thing. And this is something you have to be aware of when you're out in the world. Because this can happen to anybody, all right? This could happen. The same thing happened. I don't remember what the football player's name, but the same exact thing happened to this football player where he got with this girl. I think, or baseball, baseball player. He got with this girl. He had sex with her. And I think she tried to claim it was like rape or like sexual assault after they obviously hooked up, and she DM'd him and whatnot. So this could happen to anybody. So the age thing is kind of like the age thing is really icing on top of the cake as far as it goes to her claims of being sexually assaulted. But very interesting. She obviously lying. She obviously capping on him, and you know, but he took his L. So that's that. But that was my reaction to that. How long has it been? An hour and 17 minutes. So yeah, if you watched, thank you for watching. It's been wonderful. You have a beautiful time. You have a wonderful day. Bye bye.